Hey kids, Dad here. Apologies for being sweaty, wet. It's a glum and rainy Friday, May 22nd, 2026 at 1:50. Just got in from running a 10K and not a very good time. Just not terribly motivated. My legs didn't have much gas in them. Anyhow, I thought I would continue my little gratitude mini series and talk to you guys today about Rick. Rick is somebody, isn't his last, say Rick H., Rick Hotchner. But Rick is like a father figure to me. I met Rick in the summer of 2023. It was the last summer that I was able to live with you kids. And at that time, I was stressed out. I was very stressed out because it was in the spring. It was in the spring of 2023. I was incredibly stressed out because I was looking for a new job, and the things with your mother were heading towards the divorce, right? And I knew that my time with you kids was probably getting short. So I was immensely stressed. I was not sleeping well. I was in a constant state of anxiety. And I didn't know what to do. I was very just lost. I didn't know how to do a divorce. I had no clue. I'd never been through one myself before. Not as a kid, not as a grown up. None of my friends had. So I was very lost. In that spring, I had somehow come across a website that was big on mentors for veterans. And I had professionally studied up on mentors a bit. And the mentor is kind of like a dad, kind of somebody who is supportive of you in the sense that you can go to them, talk to them about what your goals are, maybe, and they will help you figure out a way to achieve your goals. You can go to them with your challenges. They may help help you navigate challenges. So kind of that trusted advisor, kind of a personal consultant. And if they're good at it, if they're doing it well, they're going to tell you some hard truths. They're not there to try and just be your best friend, and they're not there to try and just tell you what you want to hear. They are there to give you good advice, right? To help give you good advice. And at that time, I was desperate for some. So I went on this website, and they had a whole bunch of options on people who had basically said, "Yep, I'm available to be a mentor for a veteran." And I'm looking through there, and there's a bunch of random people, and I don't really know. But then all of a sudden, there's this guy. I think it may have said his name was Rick, and he was here in Minnesota. This was a national website, but this guy was in Minnesota, and it said something about him working in intelligence. Well, I got a master's degree in national security affairs. It's kind of the intelligence field. And I thought, oh, interesting. So I connected with him, and we spoke, and come to find out, he's a retired CIA guy. Spent his career working for the CIA. So, wow. When I was in the Army, I got to work with some CIA guys, kind of indirectly. At least I think they were CIA. They never quite said. They would call themselves OGAs, or we would call them OGAs, other governmental agencies. And we never really asked questions. They never really told us, but it was pretty clear they were in the intelligence field. So in any event, immediately I was intrigued by this guy. And we had a conversation. We met up in Edina for a coffee. And I kind of started to open up and tell him what I was struggling with. And at the time, one of my biggest struggles was an employer, a job. I kept getting these job interviews, but I kept struggling when it came to the question of, I'm going through a divorce, and I'm going to need time off for possible court dates and for possible meetings with a child custody evaluator. And I didn't know how to bring that up. And I knew that employers, it could be an issue for. Because if you just start off new somewhere And suddenly they find out that you've got to be gone for 3 hours to have an interview with a child custody evaluator, or you suddenly have a court date. They're going to say, nope, you're in your first 90 days. That's not going to work. What are you doing? You can't get time off already. So for me, I wanted to be honest and transparent. And Rick, over the course of that conversation, gave me some great ways to say that. He gave me some great advice, kind of from his own experience, from his wisdom. So that was good. And you know, every couple of weeks, I'd give Rick a call. We'd have a conversation. I'd have one or two questions. And he had a really interesting way of kind of not saying do it this way, but he was clearly very good professionally when he worked in intelligence, because he would kind of ask questions to help you almost reach the answer yourself. And then he would kind of speak from his experience a bit as well. You know, kind of this is what worked for me, or this is what didn't work for me. And over the course of, you know, several months, we got to be a little bit closer. And I remember when I met him for coffee, I asked him, it was almost like I was on a date. I'm like, Rick, would you be my mentor? And he said yes, and I gave him a big hug. And when I was driving home, I cried. Because I really needed somebody like that in my life at that time. It meant the world to me. So since that time, I still talk with Rick routinely. I still touch him routinely. And what's interesting is, as we got to know each other a little more, and as I got a job, very quickly realized, you know, I started talking about this divorce stuff. Well, it turns out Rick had gone through a divorce himself, kind of in the middle of his career, probably when he was around maybe a little younger than me, maybe late 30s. And obviously, he was working for the CIA at the time. He was stationed in Europe. How do you go through a divorce when you're a CIA agent? When you're a CIA director, whatever it is? Your job's not even publicly known, right? So his divorce ended up being very unpleasant. And he has two wonderful daughters. Over the course of his divorce, he was not able to see his daughters. And he had gone a fairly long time without being able to see them. And he missed, you know, a decade of their youth. So very, very quickly into our relationship, Rick was able to give me advice and guidance, suggested some amazing books on how for me to navigate what is a devastating thing of not being able to see your kids every day, and going through a divorce, and working with your children's mother when you guys don't always agree. Very, very difficult stuff that nobody prepares you for. But Rick had gone through it. And the really amazing thing is that today Rick's daughters are in their 20s. They're adults, right? And he has an amazing, incredible relationship with them. And as I came to discover that, Rick has it's solidified and strengthened my love for him, and how grateful I am to have in my life. How convinced I am that God connected us on that app for this reason, because he's able to help me navigate this process of, you know, right now, child reunification therapy. And he's able to help mentor and coach me on how do I make it so that when you kids are graduating college, that you know that your dad still loves you, and that I can still be a present part of your life. Because that's all I want. So Rick's been invaluable in that. And of course, over the last, you know, 2 years or so, like I said, I touch with him routinely. I'll share him pictures of us from reunification therapy, and we'll talk about some, you know, ongoing issues. But one of the cool things was, last July, I put together, a little less than a year now, but I don't know, 8 months, 9 months ago now, 10 months ago now, I put together a retreat. It was for veterans with PTSD, for an organization called Warriors Next Adventure. Went out to that lake that I was just at a couple weeks ago with Project Your Back, that big 16-bedroom mansion on the lake, that private kind of, it's not a resort, it's an estate. But I booked that place for Warriors Next Adventure, and then I brought in like 6 of my favorite people to be speakers. And, you know, there was a guy who came in, Paul Davis from Project Your Back. He came and spoke. And, you know, a guy named Alan Hill, who's incredible, spoke about job placement, how to get a job as a veteran. But then Rick came in. and Rick joined us. And Rick spoke for about a half hour, an hour, gave these guys a little class for the dozen or so veterans from the Twin Cities who joined us. He about a 30, 60-minute little class talking about mentorship and the value of a mentor, and kind of mentorship and networking. And the cool thing was, all these guys then realized, holy cow, this guy's he spent his career, he was a spook, he was in the agency. All these vets thought that was really cool, right? Jason Bourne stuff, right? Well, the reality is it's not Jason Bourne stuff, not even close. But it's still military intelligence, very, very close brotherhood there. I think a lot of mutual respect. Because typically, in my experience, you know, Army Special Forces, they were the guys who went and kicked down the doors that the CIA guys told us to. That's, but in any event, that's oversimplifying things a bit, kids. That's not exactly right, but essentially, we were the blunt force object, or the spear that the intelligence guys were directing. We were their weapon to wield. In any event, though, Rick was able to come out, and I told him, come out and just speak to these guys for a little bit. I know it's going to mean the world to them. And in exchange for that, you're welcome to stay for the whole 3-day weekend. I put him in the VIP bedroom, and he hung out with us the whole weekend. He got to know all the guys, sitting around campfires at night. And that was an awesome way for me to say thank you to Rick. And even just to this day, just 1 or 2 days ago, I just had a chance to talk to him for a half hour. Told him about how things are going with you guys, how things are going with Michael, and kind of where things are at. And we compared notes. And one of his daughters is graduating college. That was very interesting to hear about, because that helps me think about with you kids. Someday you kids are going to graduate college. God willing, I want to be there. Your high school graduation, your weddings, all those things. So today, as I am every day, I'm deeply grateful for Rick Hotchner, for him being kind of that father figure for me, that trusted advisor, that person that knows everything about me, every ugly truth. He knows all my faults. He knows all the reasons your mother probably does not care for me, all the bad things I did. He knows all my truths, and yet he still loves me, and I love him deeply. And I hope that you kids get a chance someday to meet Rick. He's an awesome guy. He's a humble guy. He's a soft-spoken guy. He's a smart guy. He's a funny guy, what he wants to be. And he's one of my favorite people in the world. He's actually, if I go here to my gratitude list, he is number one, named number one, added 6/1/2023. When I started this list, the very first person. Rick's inspired me in a lot of directions and practices that I've adopted, one of them being this gratitude list. So, love you kids. This is a long one, but you know what? Rick's worth every second of it. Love you kids. We'll talk soon.